Hey everyone, it's South African Chris here from New Zealand again with today's episode of US Top Stocks, and today being the 18th of December, well, at least here in Auckland in New Zealand. So it's almost 5 o'clock here, which means you're probably still asleep if you're in the US. But that's the good thing about being located here, is I got the time during the day to do my research on stocks and plan my strategies for the trading day ahead of opening. So that's good. We're currently looking at the portfolio, and also I've been scanning using my scanner the stock market for qualifying stocks that we will investigate, and if they meet our criteria, then I will push it into the watch list, and when it's in the watch list, we will monitor them and decide which stocks we're going to trade, and those ones that I come up with I'm going to be sharing with you. Okay, before we get into that, let's look at what happened yesterday. So I'm gonna hit the current price button here, because what it's going to do is it's going to not just look at the last closing price, but actually at the post-market price, or if it's pre-market, which is not, it'll look at the current pre-market price. So it just gets the active current pricing on these deals. The closed ones in gray, and then the ones we want to look at in black are the active trades, open trades. The ones that I highlighted here in green are just ones that I'm keeping my eye on, because they were either looking a bit volatile or almost ready to sell. Now, I do set up target price and a stop loss. Note that this is not a trading platform. This is just a strategy planning software, something I developed myself. I'm a software developer, among other things, and I wanted a tool that can help me identify the stocks and better plan the stocks that I want to buy. So for broker platforms, I use Tiger Trade, which has been pretty good for me. It doesn't have all the smart technical indicators and complex trade setups that you can do with Thinkorswim, which I also use from time to time, but Tiger Trade is fast. From my experience, at least, it's much faster and easier and quicker to set up trades, and you can do it on your phone as well, just like Thinkorswim. It's also got a phone app, but I prefer Tiger Trade. So we can use that in New Zealand for US stock markets, and the same for Thinkorswim. Alright, so this is the tool, MI Pro or Market Investor Pro, that I developed to help me identify stocks, look at technical indicators, automatically detect patterns of candlesticks, automatically detect resistance and support levels, do some suggestive indicators on what to trade, how to trade, calculate my target price and my stop loss automatically, do position sizing, keep a track record of stocks that I've bought and sold over time, so that, and if I go here in my settings, so that I can go back in history and review some historical stocks and see what happened with them and how it happened, and what the conditions were for successful trades or unsuccessful trades, so that I can learn from them. So it'll keep track of my total cash value every month. It will start a new portfolio for that month and display them here on my list, and then it will take the closed profit values, which is here in this column at the top, currently at 3,457 for closed trades, and it will add that to my cash value. The open trades will be transferred to the new month as open trades. And then there's things like my default investment value, which is a percentage of my total cash value per trade, right? And then I've got a loss warning and a win warning, where it kind of just knows when to tell me when the stock is above that or below that value. And then there's some settings here for technical indicators, and also there is an AI prediction system that I've built into it. So I use TensorFlow libraries from Python, and it does some deep learning or machine learning to help me predict stocks and trades. I've used this quite a lot in the beginning, but I realized it does pretty much gives me the same results as going through the indicators myself, which just gives me a bit more insight on the stocks, really. So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's go and have a look at something that I've traded a lot, and that'll be Tesla. So if I look at Tesla, it's a closed trade currently of this month, but let's hit historical, and what this does is it'll actually show me all the previous trades that were done. I see there's only 2, but it'll look across all the months portfolio, and it will show me what the conditions were for that trade, and it will tell me what the quantity was, what the cost was, what I sold it at, the profit I made, and the duration that this took. So this will be for the opening trade, and I can view the closing trade as well and see what those conditions looked like. So this helps me just to manage and learn from stocks better. And if I click on another one, it doesn't update. It's supposed to. Let's see. This is still in the pre-release version, but I'm happy to announce that there's a new website for MI Pro. So it's at bimworks.nz/MI Pro, and this is just a basic website where there's some information, some tutorials, and where you can download and purchase the software. So it's very cheap. Let me show you. It's super cheap. So it's $5 a month for the basic package without the AI and without the live news indicators, and $10 a month for everything included. And then you've got the alternative doing $50 a year, saving $10 there for the basic, and $90 a year for the pro version. Now, when I talk about the live news data, this is what it looks like. So if I click on the news button, I'll just wait for that to load. Then it gives you the stock news based on a starting date up until current. So it will give you all the news updates, and it will update every minute unless you select to pause it. It'll give you some general market news. It will give you some recommendations on the stock, saying whether the consensus is for a buy or a sell, or a strong buy or a hold or a strong sell or whatever. It'll give you the market sentiment, so it'll tell you that it's bullish. The sector bullish, bearish percent 65.54 means the market is bullish. The sector news score, and it'll give you then the symbol news score and the bullish percent, and if there's a bearish percent. So we can see very bullish at this moment and out performing the news score here. So, and also outperforming obviously the sector, which means it's trending quite strong. And you can do that for any stock. If I click here on Twitter, this will update actually. At the top you see a countdown timer, which just shows us how long it is before the stock market actually opens. At 10 hours from now, I'll still be awake. The news, all of that, and then these live fundamental indicators. Now, speaking of fundamental indicators, and I always say this, I don't normally trade with fundamentals. I do look at them if I want to if it's a swing vote on whether to go for a stock or not, but usually I rely on the technical indicators. Okay. Now, yesterday, what happened? I closed a few stocks. Let's look at the ones that I closed, and I'm going to move this out of the way so we can see yesterday's date, or at least today's date for yesterday's stock. So I've closed the one on Fleetcore, and the reason I did that was that there was a bit of a profit. It wasn't much, but looking at the indicators, if we just look at the current indicator here on Fleetcore, oh, sorry, that's not Fleetcore, that's IPHI, which is that. So that's Infi Corporation. Sorry, not Fleetcore, that's the one above that. On Infi, we see that it's quite bullish. It's jumped quite a bit, and it's a little bit away from that EMA, and I'm a little bit worried that since we've entered on the stochastics, we can see here, because this blue line is, and the red line is above this top magenta horizontal line, which is at a level of 70 on the stochastics. That tells us that it is currently overbought, right? So when it's overbought, we want to sell. When there's lots of buyers, it means the demand is greater, we want to sell. When it's oversold, we want to buy, right? So that's where I bought, and this is where I'm selling. We can see it's turning around, and it's going to head back down most probably. It could do a bit of a bump, but I decided to sell. We also saw that there was a close call in the MACD of this blue line hitting that red signal line, which is usually dangerous. I call it duck face, and if they do cross, it's bad news. Luckily it didn't. It bounced up again, and we can see on the average true range that it's right here at the bottom, which just means the volatility of the stock, the amount of profit that you stand to make in a day potentially. And then also there's the relative strength index, the RSI, which you can see has jumped up quite nicely, but it's at the stop level. Whether it goes beyond that and bounce off it at the top is possible, but I decided to sell before I suffer a loss, and that was just a decision at the moment. Also, I wanted to free some cash because I'm running out of cash, or at least I did. Another one here that I closed, let's see, is Cummins Inc., and I took that at a $40 loss. Same story, we're overbought here. It's bearish on the MACD, at least. The MACD suggests bearish. It's got a weak trend. There's no real strong consensus on the indicators on what to do with the stock. I can see a bit of a dip here on the RSI, a dip on the ATR. The ADX is low. So I decided, hey, we're taking a $40 loss. It's better than a $270 loss, which is currently where my maximum percentage loss is set at. So we talk about a ratio or a stop loss refer to as R, 1R, right? So you can see that my, that's the one, the loss R, in other words, is equal to minus $273.87, and then my win is 2R. So it means if I have equal wins and losses, which currently is what's happening this month, it's been a terrible month, then I'm still in the profit because I win more than I lose, right? It's double. So if you look at last month's trades, you'll see it was a lot better, a lot more green. Let's close this. A lot more green lights than red lights, and there was a good profit made there, and some of that was brought over to this month. Now if I just go back here to this month, not looking so hot, but still we're in the positive, so I guess nothing to cry about. What else did I close here? So ASML took a small profit here, probably the same conditions. So if we look at this these technical indicators, we can see we've got this bearish candle here. It's almost a doji. It's way above that overbought line. It's quite strong bearish on, when we can see from the ADX as well, it's quite strong in the MACD, but I think it's going to lose a bit of momentum, or it potentially might, and I decided there's some profit, let's just take it and go. It's been 3 days. Usually I don't like stocks running too long, but sometimes I do. You see up to 20 days. This was a fundamental buy, Pfizer, but Nvidia was not intended to take that long. It was 11 days. Here we've got one of 10 days. So normally I like for them to be between 1 and 5 days ideally, because that way I can do more trades and move cash around a bit more freely. Right, another one. What is this? LRCX took a loss on this one. Same story. I'm not going to open up the indicators now. Well, let me show you. I can open up the historical ones. So there's only one. The closing trade, we can see this is coming down, snapping back to the EMA. I did buy when it looked like it's turning around from oversold. It could potentially do the same as it's done here. So if I held off another, I say a week, maybe I could have seen some profit. I just felt like I didn't want to, and I don't want to stand the chance of losing more, because if we look at this one, we'll see that the ADX was very strong when I bought, and it was not looking too bad, and just about that turnaround, and then you can see what happened after I bought. So it's still very strong on the ADX, but the signal is kind of saying it's neutral. It's not suggesting buy or sell. So I guess at this stage, if I decided to hang on to it for a while, it could have turned out differently, but I feel if I use that money somewhere else where I can make more money, it's more profitable, right? So I can either hold it there for 15 days potentially and make a $500 profit, or I can take a $160 loss and do 3 trades and make $500 potentially within that time period, right? Which will be a lot more in pocket. So that's kind of the thinking process there. Then also, before we get into the shortlist stocks here, we've got some some watchlist stocks. Now I always mention, not always, but these days I mention Zip Trader. So I watch the videos from Zip Trader from time to time, and recently, there's a link in the description by the way, and from time to time he talks about or quite often he talks about you know, the top 3 stocks for the week, or his perception on the market, and he suggested having a look at PSTH, CIIC and SPLK. He reckons that those stocks will double value in the not so long from now period. SPLK did go up a little bit but then came down. CIIC, I checked yesterday, it looked like they went up quite a bit and then came down again. PSTH, you know, it's been up about 1%. So I'm just watching them. I'm not buying into them at this stage. Boeing. Boeing did really well yesterday as far as I can recall. Let's open that up and have a look. So, no, they did not. That was a lie. Okay, they're back, snapping back to this EMA, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You see it's been jumped above and dragging, you know, dropping back, snapping back to the EMA 18 here, and it might just bounce up again. We look at patterns, so it did pick up a pattern on the 16th, which was here, and it's saying that it's a flag, and that's bullish. Okay, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's a good sign. The signal is neutral, but it is a strong trend. It is not too bad on the stochastics. Ideally we want to see that come up before we buy in, but looking at the history here, it's not too bad. We can see it's taking a bit of, it's taking its time here at the oversold level, and then a little bit of a potential intersection of these lines if we extend them, that duck face thing, that I've been talking about. Now we can see that it's been trending on the midline here on the RSI for quite a bit in the past, there towards the end of October. It picked up over the first half of November and then stayed at the top. I don't know how long you can maintain that, or the stock can maintain that. It could be that it's dropping down again and might be trending on that midline. So I'm going to keep it as watched. I might get into it at a reduced risk level if I do decide. The ones you see here in blue, by the way, are the stocks in play, and the black ones are just stocks that I'm watching. The green ones are ones that I want to really keep my eye on. So ANET I'm already into. I just wanted to keep on watching it. In fact, I should unmark it here actually, because it'll probably be marked in my portfolio. Okay, so 5 below is also one that I got into yesterday, so I'm going to unmark that one. All right, now this one, ESTC. Let's look at the indicators for this one. So what does that look like? So no current patterns, saying it's a strong buy. The ADX indicating a strong trend. It's very bullish. We can see this is way above the it's way above the EMA, but it's also broken through this resistance line here, which could be a good signal. We're not in the oversold. It's actually turned around before it hit, but very bullish on all indicators. I'm going to take a risk on this one and I'm going to buy, but I'm not going to go in 100%. What I'm going to do, so I'm at my portfolio, I'm going to say add trade. I'm going to say halve the investment, right, the trade and the investment, and the quantity. So I'm going in where my ATR range is at 1.8. That's not enough, so we might want to increase this. So let's set this at 155. Right now we can see our ATR range is at 7, where the stock ATR is at 6.04. Let's make that 154. Okay, so there's some profit to be made, but not huge. Then if we look at the stop loss value, this is also not enough, so let's set this at 142. If this drops down, I think that should be okay. Right, and let's record this one as a trade. So that's only a $5,000 trade instead of a $10,000 trade that I normally do, but it means my profits are less, also the potential losses. Okay, NVCR, let's have a look at this one quick. So if we look at the current technical indicators, what do we see? Oh wow, look at that. So resistance is quite high. On the 17th yesterday, 2 black gapping, which indicates bearish. Okay, so it could be that this could be heading down if you base it purely on patterns or candle patterns. The signal on the other hand says it's a strong buy and it's a strong trend and it's a trending stock. It's below the stochastics. It's looking good on the MACD. There's a crossover, but it's more than 5 trade days ago, so that's good. We can see a positive turn up there on the RSI and the ATR. Well, ATR doesn't matter, it's just the volatility, but on the RSI. So I'm going to first unmark this one before I forget. Going to unmark this one, and I'm going to go half in on this one as well. So it's half between ESTC and what was this one that we're trading? NVCR. Okay, so I'm going to half that, and I think I'm doing something wrong here in the program. Oh, there we go. So the calculation just a bit off. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the ATR is at 7.82 for this one. My ATR is 16.11, which just kind of, it doesn't mean you have to be within the ATR of the stock. It just means that's the average true range, the difference in price per day. So for the highs minus the lows. So, you know, it could be that over 2 or 3 days it will accumulate, you know, and compound and actually get me to the level where I want to be. But for the stop loss, I like to keep it within the ATR, because that is going to give us a better clear earlier exit on the stock rather than losing money. And we're at 16.11. Let's try and bring this down closer to 15, just so that we don't set it too high. So that gives us 2 trade days and we should make our profit, which means by Monday. And over this weekend a lot can happen, since today is Friday. So let's record that and let's see what happens. You know what I mean, a lot can happen in terms of the coronavirus and lockdowns and things like that. Okay, so it shows a couple of things here in the minus that I've just added, but remember it's looking at the last close of those stocks, and if I hit current price it'll update those, but no point now, we can do it later. Okay, dokie. The other one I'm watching here is Pinduoduo. I can finally pronounce it now, so that's good. And we'll keep on watching that. It's looking good at this stage. Just going to leave it running. Okay, now I'm going to look at new stocks. So APPN, I did trade not too long ago. I don't know if I want to get into this one again. I've changed the software so it wouldn't add stocks in the shortlist if they're already on my watch list. Okay, so that makes it a bit better. Okay, so what do we see here? It's turning back up again here. Pattern flag is bullish. Strong trend, everything looking good. Let's keep it in the watch list and we'll circle back to it. I want to see if I made money on this one or lost last time. Okay, and then we're gonna do CHTR. Now the trading strategy that I use is based on the tutorials by Mr. Adam Koo, details in the description below, and I'm using his trading strategy for technical analysis and day trading to determine my trades. Now we can see here from the candles, no patterns detected, but quite bullish yesterday. We do see an upturn here and a turnaround on the stochastics from oversold heading back to overbought. But the problem is there's a crossover here in the MACD, which is not good. Usually that could indicate bad news, and the ADX is weak, so I'm going to not go for this one. So this is kind of the process that I follow. I'm going to run through all of these, and then I'll pause while I do that so you don't have to watch me go through each and every stock. And then once I'm done and I've got a short list of stocks that I can discuss with you, I will resume. So see you soon. Okie dokie, we're back. Also, yesterday, when I ran my stock finder and I went through stuff, something went wrong and I had to restart the program, which happens when you're still debugging. But I realized it took such a long time to scan through all 7,220 odd stocks on the entire exchange that every time I have to do it, it takes about half an hour. So I built in a save defaults and recall button. So after a scan, it will save the last search and I can just recall them. So that's helping a lot. Okay, so we said at APPN we want to look at historical trades before we get into this one. So I remember I did have a trade before. There it is. So it was on the 7th. Took 2 days for this trade. Made a profit, a huge profit there. Bought in at these conditions. So it was a little bit above the EMA. It was oversold. The MACD looked good, everything pointed in the right direction, and the closing trade was a bit bullish, but I hit a high, so I set a high target price there, so that worked for us. Okay, now if that worked, then it means it can work again. So if we look at the indicators right now, I think we can pull off a similar move. You see, very similar to that one. This is where we bought before, and this is where we're buying again. We can see potentially a similar trade there. So I'm gonna go in with this one and I'm gonna add a trade for APPN. We'll go full in, so let's just make sure we've got some reasonable levels here. So I only need half of the ATR, right? 160.88, and the difference here on the loss is 3.7. It's not much, so maybe we can push this up a bit. So that's $7 per pop times 74. So let's just make sure my calculations are working correct. Yeah, that puts us in a good profit. Oops, that's not what I need to do. Now you see all my coding stuff. So that puts us in a fairly good margin if we do hit this one. So yeah, I'm going to record this one. I think that's a no-brainer, definitely. Yeah. Now after I've recorded them here, I need to go and program them into my stock broker software, which is Tiger Trade, right? So I do this, I determine my values, and then so if we look at Fate, I'll show in a minute what I do when I record the trades for the day. I haven't bought this one before. This is way above the EMA. Something must have happened with the stock in the news. It's not ready on the stochastics yet. It's looking really good though. I'm going to mark it. It's not ready yet, and I just want to see if there's any news indicating what's happening with the stock. Could it be a once-off thing? Was it earnings? So what Corbus Pharmaceutical Holdings Inc. stock outperforms shares of blah 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 blah. Okay, we can go read that. Looking today at week over week shares. So nothing really specific to Fate Therapeutics that I can see here recently. This is looking from Monday, so not sure what the story is there. I'll have to do a bit of research. We can see the, so now on these stocks here, we can see the recommended target prices, highs, lows, medians, and again we can see some indicators, recommendations and sentiment. Now if we just look at APPN again, if we look at the recommended or the sort of automatically calculated target prices there, we'll see that it's got a mean of 79.86 and a median of 84. Now if we look at our target price here on APPN, you'll see that doesn't look right. This can't be for APPN, could it? That must be wrong. Maybe I didn't fix this thing. Okay, sorry, my bad. Let's try that again. Let's make sure this is APPN. So 3 top artificial intelligence stock to buy right now on APPN. That's good, that's good, that's good. This data must be wrong. It says a high of 95, but obviously that's wrong. Okay, don't know why that is. I'll fix that. Anyway, moving along swiftly. Spotify is the other one. So let's have a look at Spotify and what the story is. So current, we can see quite bullish, no recent patterns, but ADX very strong. Looking good in the stochastics, good on the MACD, good on the RSI. Yes, we're going to buy this one. So we head over to the portfolio and we're going to trade. So my range is 15.65, the ATR is 14.48. I think we can hit it. The stop loss, my true range is 7.82 and the average true range of the stock is 14.84. So let's see, 14.84 here, we've got 15.65. Maybe I need to reduce this a little bit. So if we hit it to 342, that should put us close. So there we go. Let's record it as that. I'm happy with that. So there's the deal, and those are my trades for today. So to summarize it for you, ESTC, NVCR, but both on them I went in with 50% reduced risk. And then on APPN, and Spotify, SPOT, I went in 100%, and when I say 100%, I mean my normal investment, which is 10% of my total cash value on those stocks. And those are my top stocks for the day. Remember, this is my trading strategy. This is based on the work of Adam Koo, which I then modified and added my own digital sort of technology to it and my own approaches. So I've modified those strategies a bit to make it my own. You need to do your own research. The stock market is volatile. It's dangerous. You can potentially lose a lot of money. So make sure you know what you're doing. Don't just base your trades on what I'm doing and what I'm saying here. I did mention earlier I was going to tell you how I record the trade. So what I do is I will open my brokerage software, which I'm not going to do now, but then I'll look at my target price and stop losses, or I can just click there and it will show me the target price again and the stop loss, and I can adjust it if I need to. And we see the quantity, and my buy-in price is usually the market price plus a few cents or whatever, you know, not too much. If it's bullish, if it's bearish, then obviously the inverse of that. Anyway, thank you so much. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share this work, download the software, try and use it if you like. Your feedback would be greatly appreciated. In fact, if you like and share the video and you comment on YouTube, I'll give it to you for free for a month. So you know, get in on that. I think it's cheap enough. $5 a month is nothing, you know, and it buys me a cup of coffee from time to time. Thank you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again. Cheers.
I like it.